Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night. But watch me, baby, I'ma take it there. Tell ya I'ma stay the path. Tell ya I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Yeah, I've been praying to the sky, I need some steady hope. If you had some guidance, would you let me know? Any doubts, that's something that you gotta go and get over, yeah. Get over, yeah, here we go. Nah, never think, never see the day.
This is the Mind Growth Mission podcast with David Schweit, and I have a very special guest for us today. Someone who I truly admire, who's got an amazing story, has built an amazing company, and has helped a lot of leaders on his mission here. So welcome Brad Lawson of Primeline Capital.
Thank you very much, bro. Dude, I'm pumped to be on this.
This is a dude that's like super humble and just super kind, super cool, really respects people, and really has like a presence, like an aura about you that you give off. And that's one thing that like most people don't get, is that awareness. Yeah, so tell me, like, when you were younger, I'm sure there were some things that helped mold you a bit. There were some challenges, some struggles, some things you had to go through. And what did you have to go through that you think helped you to this day?
Yeah, I got plenty of challenges throughout my life. But I think the most poignant to this conversation is going to start so I left college, right? And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I go home for maybe 12 months or something. And my whole goal was, how do I get back down to Carolina? Dude, I love it down here in the Carolinas, but I had to figure out what I was going to do. So worked for my parents for a little bit, and in doing so, made a little bit of money, but not that much. And then got to the point where I was like, all right, it's time to make the move. I started applying for jobs. I interviewed, got one, and like literally 3 days later, I'm driving down to North Carolina with a pickup truck, and all my possessions that I own are in there. I had to cash out my bank account, and like I said, I did not have a lot of money. I don't come from that kind of like lifestyle. And I had like $1,900 in cash in my pocket, and that's all I had. And I was coming down to a job. Day one, I walk in there and they're like, who studied for the test, or who opened this book? And nobody raised their hands. They slammed the book down and were like, not a single one of you? Well, I'd like to let you know that if you don't pass this test, you don't get a paycheck and you don't have a job. So I was like,
Set the tone.
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I'm talking about moving down 8 hours from home. I don't have like connections down here. I just want to come back. I love this area, this town. So I got $1,900, and it's got to last me at least 15 days, because that's when the first paycheck comes. But the first paycheck is $750, and then it's $1,500 a month after that. But you have to pass the test to get it. And this is in 2012, so that's basically minimum wage as a college graduate adult. So that's a pretty interesting note to make there.
Right.
But literally, that was the most important thing to me, because to me, there was no safety net. I wasn't going back. That's for sure. It was like every single day I had to put forth the best effort, because I had no safety net. I didn't have money. I didn't have connections. I didn't have a place to go if things went wrong. There was no plan B. Boats were burned. I felt like every single day for the first, I'm going to say 6 months, I had to make the game-winning shot every single day. But really, it didn't stop there. And now I feel like I still have that. I got to show up, and I got to be the best version of myself every single day. So if there's one thing that I could say really helped mold me, is taking that risk, making that leap of faith, betting on myself, and learning that I can actually cash that bet. That's it.
For sure, man. There's so many stories you hear where people talk about their back was against the wall and it pushed them forward and they were just all in. And I think when you get to that moment of like, I have to make this work or else, that's when you start to see some change within you. And then you build the habits, the routines, the nature of who you are. and you're just stressed, you're challenged, but you get through it, right? You figure out a way. And I'm sure with that came a lot of pain, a lot of stuff you had to go through where it was mentally draining, emotionally draining. A lot of successful people will tell you that, and that's awesome, man, because I didn't know that about you. Now, so I do know Brad a little bit. We don't hang out all the time, but this is one dude who's just his aura, like I said, he makes a difference and makes an impact. That's why he was able to build a successful company here in Charlotte, North Carolina. A couple of years ago, they did volume of $1 billion, or about $1 billion, which is awesome, pretty significant. And just to think about where you come from, man, that's one of those things of motivation and inspiring and aspiring to be like that, right? Like anybody can do it. And that's why I want to get this message out there. There's so many people that just maybe they don't feel comfortable enough putting their back against the wall sometimes and going all in and just taking that leap of faith and just making it work. Like moving to a place that you love and taking that risk. There's a lot of people not willing to just do that. And I think those examples translate to everything else, like the chain reaction of events for you, right? So tell me about like the mentality of you made it through there. You had that job paying you what, $1,500 a month?
1,500.
$1,500 a month, and this is 10 years ago ish. Not much money at all, especially living in a city. I'm pretty sure rent's about $1,800 on average out here. So when you put that together, you don't really have much money for anything. So you're sacrificing a lot of things to make it work. So what got you into the mortgage industry, and what actually helped you navigate through learning and understanding that?
So I got into the mortgage industry. A cousin of mine, he's actually my mom's cousin. He was in the game, and just threw it out there as an option. The first place I applied to accepted me, and I needed a job to move down here, so I took it. And that's really it. I don't think there's anybody that ever like wakes up or graduates high school and is like, man, I really can't wait to get into the mortgage business.
Right.
I think it's something that you find out exists after college, and then you dive right in. So yeah, I got in that way, but the bigger piece was it was a fun company, great time. I I can't like state how difficult it was coming into the game, learning it, having all the pressure that I mentioned before, but then it got a lot harder within like 6 to 8 months of me being in the industry. And so I watched a lot of people disappear from the mortgage world. However, I give a lot of credit to my boss and also your previous boss as well. But shouldn't even call him boss, but he's our boy, man. He's a leader. Matt Drexler, he literally took me under his wings in several different aspects of life, not just the workplace, but he put so many things into my head of how you need to operate in order to grow as a human being, grow as a professional, grow as a person in general. But he put the idea of mindset. He put like personal development into my head. I mean, you're chomping at the bit to speak about it too, but that's exactly what I needed at that time in my life. And by having him come in and almost force it upon me, it has become a routine of mine since 2014. I wake up every single day and I put on some type of business leadership, just overall personal growth type stuff, video, and I get ready for that every single day. And I've done it for that long, and I truly believe that has changed the way that I live my life and the results that I get from it. But I got to give credit to Matt Drexler. He is the one that really put it out there as what is necessary to really grow and develop into a successful human being.
Man, that's awesome. But I was hoping you'd have a story like that for us, because one thing that has impacted me as well is realizing that oftentimes you don't get there on your own. Somebody just finds you in your life in that moment when you're ready for it, and they change your whole life and your whole perspective, and really truly change your whole mindset of how things can work, how you can actually approach things and look at things, look at the world. And leaders develop other leaders. So when somebody actually makes an investment in you with their time and with their energy, and it's coming from a genuine place, that'll totally transform you, man. So, and he did mention Matt Drexler. He's one dude that I'm inspired by, that when I listen to him speak, he's one of the best. And he's one of the people that has invested a ton of time in me to help my growth. And I'm really in debt to him for that. So I love the fact you brought him up. Now, another guy I want to mention is your business partner as well, who's a natural leader, I'd say. he's a culture guy like yourself as well. Just a fun guy I've known since college. Fernando Escafi. These two went into business together, and he's a guy I know from very humble beginnings. He was living in a apartment that had barely anything in it. I remember that because we were in the same apartment complex. So every now and then we would hang out, and he's just one of those guys, gives off a similar energy as Brad, where, okay, this dude's easy to talk to. You can tell he's just chill. He's cool. He loves people, loves life. But tell me about that relationship, how y'all came to get paired together, and what helps each of y'all in the different ways you guys help each other grow and
Yeah,
build a business
no,
together.
great question. And so Fernando and I, we actually met for the first time back in 2013. He actually started at the company that we were working for together, but he quickly actually left and reverted back to where he was prior to take a different role. And, at that point, it could have been we'd never see each other again, but we reunited, came back into the mortgage industry maybe 2016 or so, and because we had a prior relationship, he ended up coming onto my team as I was running a team at that point. Working with him, it was unbelievable to see somebody. He had really had about 3 months, 4 months of mortgage experience, but it was unbelievable to see somebody come in and be able to climb the ranks of top producers in such a short period of time. Like, that's a natural skill that very few people have. He put so much effort into doing it, late nights, a lot of calls, working weekends, whatever it took. But the way he was able to climb the ranks. So he was on my team. I helped him through, some of his struggles when he was producing, and he took it to the top. At some point in time, he decided that he wanted to go out and teach other loan officers. And while that was happening, I also was going through a difficult time in my position, managing a team, and then I was actually pulled back. So I was a little unhappy with where I was, and we kind of collaborated together to say, hey, you know what? We could probably go out on our own. We could do something big. You got the sales side. I'll take the management leadership side, and we linked up that way. So if you're asking how do we complement each other, that's exactly it right there.
Fair. So it sounded like you went through what you would call maybe a failure, right? Maybe that propelled you to new heights. You're like, okay, I realize there's something there. There's something unique, but there's also something that I need to improve upon. And there might be somebody else to maybe help fill that role to help me grow as well. And so is Fernando one of those guys that kind of came in at the right time for you where, okay, this kind of all makes sense, and maybe there's some things I'm not as skilled at, but he is, and I know I'm very good at this and he's very good at that. So it was kind of a natural fit. Is it pretty organic like that?
Yeah, I think I understand where you're going, but you got to understand that we were working together for at least 2 years, maybe three, maybe even more than that, up to that point.
Yeah.
Like very closely, day to day.
Yeah.
So we knew each other very well
Yeah.
at that point. I mean, we had gone on trips together, right? So it wasn't like he just popped out of nowhere. It
Of
was
course.
we had been building that over time, the
Yeah.
trust, the understanding of one another.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a, hey, this failure happened, and then I just looked for somebody to come help.
No, not at all.
Technically, we were both in the same boat,
Yeah.
but it wasn't so much that we looked at it like it was a failure. It looked at it as, hey, we wanted to do something that didn't work out. Let's pivot and maybe collaborate together to actually do something that works better.
Yeah. That's a perfect example, right? And that's really where I was trying to challenge you there, man, because it's not really a failure. It's about the perspective too. It's like, I know what I'm capable of, but let me use my strengths to actually get me doing something that I know I can do, that I'm taking that risk with, and put myself out there to grow and stretch myself more. Because what happens to a lot of us do get complacent. Not saying that's your case, but a lot of us get complacent, and because the reason usually is because we're just doing the same things over and over again, not growing, not stretching, not putting ourselves out there, not taking a risk, not putting a step forward to something that's new and uncomfortable for us. So when you're kind of at that point where, okay, I'm at a level where I need something new, that's kind of like, okay, let me turn this ship around in that moment, right? Things could be going good and you could catch yourself doing that. So in your case, it sounds like it was the perfect storm of a lot of things. You had a great relationship with a ton of trust. You guys had a ton of different skills. There were each other's advantages and all that, and strengths that you could use to help. So with building that over time, it just became a natural fit. And let me ask you, because I know how big you guys have got this company, and how hard it is to start a company, but what are some of the things that you feel were like the toughest challenges? And was there anything that stands out where you're like, holy crap, like this is a holy crap moment where I got to really dig deep and ask for help? And were there any moments like that?
Yeah, right off the bat, partnered up. Technically, there was a third partner too. I don't know if you want to go this way, but technically, tech there was a third partner too.
Yeah.
That third partner was not the partner that we needed. It was actually a completely different company. It's not even associated with Primeline. But within the first week or two of starting what we thought was our new business, our third partner swiped the bank account clean and stole $20,000. So there's a setback for you, Dave.
Right. Right.
Then we get the company started. I mean, looking back at it, oh yeah, you just did it. But bro,
Exactly.
when you're in the game, when you're in the zone, and you're like, dude, what is workers comp? Like, you find out all these things that you have to do that you didn't even know
Yeah.
about, and that's just the easy clerical stuff. Getting down to bringing in people, trying to get people to buy into us. I mean, this is two dudes in like a 300 square foot office trying to act like somebody should come join our company. And
Yeah.
we gotta give them that trust and show them what our game plan is, and why they should buy into it, why they should hop aboard. So that these setbacks, all or not setbacks, but challenges all the time. Even just getting off the ground, we had no reputation. Nobody ever heard of us. There was no Google reviews. Are we a scam? That's not easy either.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's no income coming in for 6 months, whatever it was. I want to say the first time we paid ourselves was in June, and we started the company in January. So that's basically 5 or 6 months, no paychecks,
Right.
and just again continuing to bet on ourselves. But that's really what I kind of think that yourself, you're doing it right now, brother. Um, I kind of think that I just got into that mentality very early on after leaving college. And it's like every single day is just betting on yourself that you're going to make it happen.
I love that. I love that, man. That's inspiring. That's true. That's real. But I think you found that early on within yourself. Like when your back's against the wall, you can make things happen, right? You know how to figure it out. You might not know the answer right then, but you'll figure it out. Like your mentality is, I can make this work. I know I'm going to make it work. So you totally have that embedded in you. Like, okay, here's the tunnel vision. I know what I'm doing. We're going to get after it. There's a lot I got to learn. That's okay. I'm going to take that risk though, right?
I'm gonna lose a lot of games. I'm just hoping I win a few championships. That's what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and I really think that when we're talking about success or failure, we talked about failure earlier. I always look at it as failure is not final, success isn't final either. If we're talking about describing success, the only way that you can really define it is being the best version of yourself every day and striving for your potential. The moment you give up, that might be failure there. Even if something doesn't work out, it's about picking up the pieces and getting right back to something else. Move on.
Yep.
Keep going and striving to hit your potential. You can quantify it with money, but name one super wealthy person that is proud of their wealth. They're not proud of their wealth, dog. They're proud of the impact that they had. They're proud of what they did to change the trajectory of the world, the company, the team, whatever it is, the game. That's what they're proud of. I think money is a byproduct and a very, uh, a perfectly fine byproduct to chase. But I just want to be proud of the impact that I have on others.
Yeah, that's real, man.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've noticed in leaders I've been with in previous roles, and people I've heard speak or share their story, or the podcast I'll listen to. But what actually makes up success is really up here, right? It's like what you're actually doing, and are you taking the steps forward, or are you just in your head so much that you're not taking any action or making any movement? So success is that everyday growth, like always be learning, always be growing. And there's always ways to challenge yourself. And if there isn't, something will come up in your face and then you're challenged, right? But at the end of the day, man, that's one thing that I see in a ton of leaders like yourself. It's like, okay, I'm gonna weather the storm. I can handle this. Woosah, I just take a minute, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. You probably had the mortgage industry, as we know. And guys, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, banking capital of the country, I'd say, right? So banking and mortgages, a ton of up and downs, but mortgages especially, it goes like a roller coaster ride. So you have to really work on your mindset. You really have to work on your habits, your routines, the things that you can control. And you should be doing those things anyways. But you really have to hone in on who you are and become more of who you are and work on yourself to be really successful in this industry. It really challenges you. And a lot of people here know each other, and there's a lot of super successful people in the mortgage industry out here, and I look up to them. They're supreme quality people and work their butts off, and it's just special to see. But being the leader of those men and coming from that background yourself, man, what do you think it takes though? Like mentally, mindset, the changes that people have to make that you've seen, some of the molding you've seen here. What are some of those things to really get you there? What are some examples you can give?
Dog, I would say this industry, number one, you got to be mentally tough. Like a leader of mine, old boss once said, the two most important qualities are predictability and reliability. And I think the key to those traits is consistency. Consistency. Like if you're gonna give yourself that day off or that moment off, or you're gonna allow yourself to mail it in, you're going to end up doing it over and over again, because this cyclical business, bro, it'll beat your ass down, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Been there, done that, for sure.
Gotten beat down. Yeah.
Felt
Hell,
it.
bro, you talked about funding $1 billion. I'm going to tell you something about not funding $1 billion, and it is painful, bro. That cycle is real. But yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, you got to be mentally tough. But the consistency is the key part. Is whatever you're doing, do it consistently and have the discipline to not give yourself the breaks, so that you don't have to do it. Because
Right.
it's so much easier to keep momentum going than it is to rebuild it.
Right. So whenever you let your foot off the gas pedal is where people actually go back tenfold. But to be on the accelerator is such a slow process at times, right? To develop and earn those skills and get to a level where, you're striving for. That's the tough part, man. And that's the challenging part that takes a ton of time. But to go backwards is extremely easy. So you really got to dig deep, man. And that's something I've seen in a ton of leaders. It's just that consistency day in, day out. What do they do? What are they feeding their mind with? What are they doing before they go to bed or when they wake up in the morning, or to get their mind right before getting in front of all these sales calls or all these people for the day? Like, what are they doing to get their state in the right place, like their whole body, like everything, their mind, everything? What are they doing to do that, right? So that's what I've seen as the separators and all of sales, but especially it was easy to spot in mortgages, and that's one thing where it creates beasts, man. And anybody wanting to join a great profession that's full of just personal growth, development, and very rewarding and very challenging, and work where you actually get to help people, it is mortgages. So I love the business for that reason. Tell me what has your drive in this type of industry and what you're doing.
My drive personally isn't anything to do with mortgage or the mortgage industry itself. I mean, ultimately, it's helping people. And at one point in time, I was looking to help as many people as possible to make as much money as possible.
Right.
That was my mindset. Great, but I'm out there for me, bro. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm trying to sell as many loans as I can so that I can make money. That wasn't the right mindset. I think I was really able to develop the right mindset um, throughout my career, kind of climbing the ranks as a leader. I took on a small team as a team lead, then sales manager, then starting this company. But I've changed my perspective completely to where I'm looking at how can I change the trajectory of as many lives as humanly possible. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to be able to do it slinging 6 loans over the phone per month or something like that. I need to do it by not only having a team myself, but having that team train other people and really expand or cast the web over how many people I can possibly touch. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, that's basically a definition of a leader, somebody who wants to build other leaders, other people that can grow the right things, the right message, and just help develop as many people as possible so they can have the same impact as well. And that comes internal. I mean, that's something that's like a drive within you that like you have to seek. You have to understand what it is you're passionate about and really dig deep at times to really figure out who you are and how you can make an impact. Because what I believe is everybody has a gift. Everybody has something they can offer the world. Have they found it yet? I don't know, but that's for them to figure out, right? So when people go searching for that and then find it in a way that works for them, and you see that, like that's what you embody, and that's what leaders embody, and that's one of the things that just moves me personally, that I've seen it so much. I've been around so many quality leaders, Rick Elias from Red Ventures, all the leadership group there, that just special people. Matt Drexler, who we brought up, obviously Fernando, I know his background and everything, and amazing. And then several other people. I mean, Drew Fisher in the industry, who I'll eventually have on here. But there's separation within a lot of these people. It's what they're doing consistently, what they're doing daily, how they're thinking about it, and really just shifting that perspective. If you go about me all the time, it's that emotional roller coaster. If that's all it's about, like, you're going to live in your emotions a lot, and you're going to beat yourself to the ground. And, most of us can say we've been there. That's why I'm able to speak on it. And, it can still happen. Everybody has their things they're faced with.
I think no matter what your job is, you got to show up to work for more than just a paycheck.
Yeah.
If you're showing up for a paycheck, it's not even worth it. You got to have purpose, something that you're passionate about, and it doesn't have to be the actual thing at hand. Kind of talking about how I'm not really passionate about mortgages itself, but the
Fair,
industry
yeah.
is the vehicle that allows me to do what I am passionate about.
Exactly.
I
love that.
Piece.
That was great. And that's truly amazing, man. I was hoping to get good quality stuff out of you today, but I got some great stuff out of you today, man. I'm truly blessed for this. And one thing that I do want to ask, just because we're sitting here, we both been through different leadership roles, we both had to work on ourselves a lot. What are some things that a person can do to, maybe they want to start a company, maybe they want to try a totally different job or different role or different industry out? What are some things you recommend to those people that are like, okay, I'm not satisfied with where I'm at anymore. What do I need to know before jumping into something else or starting my own business? What kind of advice would you give somebody like that?
Figure out what you're going to do and then commit to doing it. Don't give up. Hold yourself accountable for getting through the tough times. You will always want to do something different if you don't have the discipline to stick it out, because everything that you do will have difficult times. If you want to actually be successful at anything, it's going to take a lot of work. Approach it with a positive attitude. That might be the number one quality in any successful human being. Commit to doing it. Don't give yourself an out. Burn the boats. Be disciplined. Stay consistent with what it takes every single day. I went through periods of time in my life where I was not consistent. Those were the hard times. Be consistent. Hard work, baby.
I love it. I love it. And man, I think anybody and everybody can get something out of what you just said. And I think it's one of those things that just make it real for yourself. And if you can ask yourself certain questions and just tune out the noise for a bit and really understand, like, hey, I have skills. What are they? What are my strengths? And really hone in on that, and then figure out a way to go ahead and start to make action, make moves towards something greater than yourself. I think the possibilities are endless, man. And I see it within this guy right here. I really think that the examples you gave today are like exactly what I'm looking for in this podcast. It's a mindset first and foremost, right? And then the ultimate belief in yourself, and then having enthusiasm in what you're doing. And then the fear of failure always creeps in, but just realize there's going to be challenges. There's going to be tough times. And the more we understand that, the more we accept that, the easier things can become. But that level of consistency is going to be what helps you get over those times. To a lot of people that I see making these moves and having a plan, but knowing that plan can veer off and it can steer in other directions. We talked about it with the cycles and everything, but think about maybe a moment in your life where maybe you had a change, right? Like you had to realize, okay, I can't be doing this mess anymore. Let me get to something that's a little more serious or a little more adult or a little more like mature, right? Like something I know I need to do that I've been putting off. Can you think of a time where that happened for you that really helped change a lot of things for you, for your life?
I hate to say it, but I would say the biggest impact that biggest example of that I can come up with probably has to do with drinking. I think Uh, First of all, let's. Can I rewind for a second?
For sure.
Okay, we talked about like betting on yourself and like believing in yourself, and I think it's very important to note that like I didn't exactly believe in myself up front, and like yes, I made that leap of faith, but like I didn't have much confidence. I just figured I of course it was going to happen. I didn't know what the real world was like, and of course it smacked me in the face at some point. But the belief in yourself, it you will never believe in yourself if you keep giving yourself the out to not push through that hard time. And I do think that a lot of people get to a point where they're beaten down and then they don't believe in themselves. You gotta push through that time in order to really like build that confidence in yourself. I didn't have that. I still in this moment there are things that I'm not confident about, and I like mess up every single day.
Yeah.
Like you don't just wake up, and nobody wakes up and just believes in themselves. They have to prove it to themselves over and over and over again. That's where Michael Jordan like thought he was the greatest person on the court at any given time. Doesn't matter who he's playing against, because he proved it to himself over and over again. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that he's just like, I'm not good enough, or I don't think that's the trajectory for me. Well, it never will be. You really do. You build it, and you can't take it from me and just believe it. But I didn't believe in myself to the extent that I do now. I didn't have the confidence that I was capable of doing the things that I did all the way up. But it took a lot of pain, a lot of sacrifice, and by actually putting in the work to get over those hurdles, I proved to myself that I could do it. I am capable. And then the next hurdle comes and it's a little bit bigger, and then I got to step up to that challenge in a different way. And then I prove I could jump over that hurdle. Well, shit, I knocked over the next one. Shit, I knocked over the next one. All right, catch them on the way back, baby.
Right.
But I think it's super important. We talk about just believing in yourself. Nobody can believe in themselves just because they think they're great. You got to prove it to yourself. You got to earn that belief.
Love that. Absolutely.
Now, what was the original question?
All right. Well, you basically touched on it. Okay. So, but basically, there's a moment or moments that help you shift everything, right? Because, like you said, like there was a lot of not believing in myself involved too. There were a lot of times where things were not healthy for me or not going well. So, like, was there any specific incident or moment that stood out where it's like the shift happens now, and here's why?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I, went to college, and certainly drinking was a part of life in college, but that sometimes carries over to after college. And I was in a position where I was socially uncomfortable because I didn't really know anybody down here, you know? And so when I'm going out with people that I'm not really familiar with. And there was way too many times where I'm put in a position where I have to be like social and such, and I don't feel comfortable. And how do you make up for that? Well, sometimes in some cases it's by drinking more, right? And, I did that. How people say like, "Hey, everybody's got a bad night." I'm like, I had way too many bad nights,
I understand. Yes,
right?
sir.
So, all right, well, you and me both. So, I mean that created a reputation for me. It was like an image, an identity of who I was, and it got to the point where Drexler was actually, he was trying to put me in a position where I could take on more responsibility, a leadership role. And at that point in time, if he would have suggested it to anybody else, they'd be like, this guy, because that was my identity. That's how people looked at me. And by him and some other people kind of bringing me to the realization that that was my identity, it really helped me understand that, like, hey, dog, like, this isn't the person that you want to be. This isn't the image that you want to be. Not that you're a bad person for doing it, but I want to reach my potential. I want to strive for that every single day. And every single time that, one of those bad nights would happen, or, I get into a situation where, oh, I get turned down for a promotion because I'm the guy that I'm the party boy that blacks out all the time or whatever, right? Like that's not getting any closer to my potential. And so that really made me realize, hey, you know, there's still a way to have fun and not put yourself in the position where you really do jeopardize who you are, your character, and the way people feel about you. So that was a big one for me. And honestly, by coming to that realization, like I referenced social anxiety, and of course maybe some of it was caused by that, but maybe a lack of confidence in that setting, or just using it as to fulfill my image, to fulfill the image that I thought I was too, right? But that period of time, deciding that wasn't going to be me anymore, I think actually gave me more confidence in myself. I think it allowed me to take a step back and say, hey, I don't need something to make me a likable person. I can just go out and be myself. And like being authentic to me actually attracted more people to me than the portrayal of who I wanted to be through drinking actually did.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's touching stuff, huh?
I love it. And that's so real, bro. I mean, that's one thing that a lot of people can relate to, is these bad habits or substance abuse or things like that are really holding them back from being their best version of themselves. And that realization, man, that's so real, because I've been on a similar journey. I'm not drinking right now, and I love the feeling of it. I love waking up not hungover. I love not wasting time partying my butt off. It's just a great feeling. And once you get more and more of that, like you said, it builds confidence. Once you start to see that you can do it, that you can make these shifts and change that whole identity of who I am and what I'm trying to fulfill, and for what, for who, why. And then you take a moment to ask yourself these questions, and then you can flip the whole script. That's when the super healthy changes start to occur, and the massive action starts to happen. And that's what I love, man. And that's why I'm doing this, to reach people, to show them that it is possible for them to change their habits, change their unhealthy things that they're doing in their life, change the script, man, flip the script on things. And that was just so powerful, what you just said, man. So I really appreciate that, dude. Anything else you want to add?
I'm curious to ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
All right, fair.
Yeah. Where do you see this going? Where do you see this podcast going? Where do you see your work going?
This means a lot to me, and I'll tell you why. I've always been the type to see people in a different light. Always know that they're capable of change and possible of a ton. And I was seeing people do it. I was never doing it myself. So now it's time for me to change so I can help others change and prove that example out, but also impact people's lives. I want to help people realize that once you start thinking something up, that's just the first step. There's a whole mindset, identity change. There's so many different things that you have to do. And yeah, things are going to be hard, but you can make it a lot easier on yourself as well. And just know that there's real stories out there that inspire change, where people have come from such humble beginnings, and anybody can do it. Or where do I see the podcast going? I want to reach as many people as possible to help as many people as possible. I'm going to have a ton of awesome guests, first of all. And second of all, I want to talk about some of these habits, routines, changes in your life, different perspectives, basically, if that helps.
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious to see how you take this, because this isn't just a thing that you step into as somebody who maybe was the student, and then now you're taking that leap to being the teacher. And I know you've had had your people and impacted lives in the past, but you're making that jump to being the teacher. And what's the book, Think and Grow Rich? If I'm correct, that Napoleon Hill was contracted by Carnegie to go out and just interview the we'll call it the wealthiest people, but the biggest,
most successful people at the time.
Most successful people at the time. And what does he end up doing? He ends up cementing his name in everybody's head. Every single person that's ever heard of a business book knows Think and Grow Rich. I believe he went on to have his own career elsewhere too, but I kind of think it's really cool what you're doing. And if that was anything along the lines of what you were going for, pretty dope, dog.
Bro, that's so hilarious, bro. I love that example because I just got done reading that book.
Wow.
And I love the examples the book has. And it's about 100 years old now, I think. Maybe. Just about. It's an old book.
Yeah.
But he studied these people for 20 years. The way he breaks down these examples and principles and the way a lot of other people do it, everybody's saying the same thing. They're just saying it differently. But it's the same thing. It's the same message. So the more you read, the more you put it in, the more you get the auto-suggestion, like the book said. The more you can feed your mind with that stuff, and then the belief starts to happen because it's just second nature. It's a part of you now. So I truly believe that. And you have to surround yourself with the right people as well. You have to make a lot of different changes in your lifestyle and different things you want to do if you want to reach certain levels. And that book just makes it really tangible. So that example is like perfect, man. But it shows you have to be engulfed in it. You have to want every bit of it, including the challenges and the failures that come with it. You got to want that stuff. You know it's going to happen. You know it's inevitable.
You gotta fall in love with it.
Got to fall in love with it, bro. I love that. That was perfect. And I want you to give a shout out as well to your company and the social media. Everybody here. You got an awesome team, by the way. And I'm just humbled by this moment, man. I want you to give all the shout outs for it.
Yeah, so Primeline Capital is my company. I'm not doing this to promote Primeline Capital. We're a mortgage broker. I'm doing this out here to promote Dave Schweik. That's what I'm doing this, man. I'm super pumped to be on this podcast, super pumped to help you on this journey, super pumped to, just be able to share my story. So really appreciate you having me on. If you do want to follow Primeline Capital, it is at primelinecapital.com on Instagram. And I'm sure you can find me on LinkedIn if you search my name.
Brad Lawson.
Easy.
I appreciate you, man. Love you, brother. And looking forward to having more of these moments with you, man. That was great.
No doubt.
I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night. But watch me, baby, I'ma take it there. Tell ya I'ma stay the path. Tell ya I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Here we go.